very cold night. You've got your nice Jim's
Jabs
jacket.
Yeah, Jim's Jabs jacket on.
Absolutely. So let's talk real quickly about the Jim's Jabs stuff if you're wondering about it for people who come later on. I think we're back to Tuesday midday in the messages from Instagram alone. That doesn't include the 3,000 comments on TikTok.
It's going mad. My daughter's a trainee doctor, and she's got taken a whole stack of people at the hospital. They want to wear them, to have something to wear to promote the cause.
Well, news.com.au ran one saying Jim for PM with the vaccine jab for it. They went. Radio stations ran it and told everyone, and they think we've got a social media team. We've got the two boys who do the video, it's just me. So I'm thinking,
there you are.
I know. So we're back to Tuesday midday on the messages. So if you have message our page and we haven't seen it, we're not ignoring you. It's just we'll get to you. So I'm going to make like anything that we're going to get to your message. And we've already got 500 people who we've got for the Jim's Jabs merch, and we're going to try and get to as many as we can as well.
If anybody's got connections with hospitals or places where they get vaccination, we can give them a whole stack of shirts and hats when they come in, and they can just give them out to people to get the vaccinations done. So,
I just want to give you an idea as well for the demographic. If you're a franchisee or someone watching as well, the demographic is, I reckon, 85% under 30. So it's 85% under 30, and out of that 85%, I reckon it's probably 70% girls. So it's all young women who are wanting it, and there's a lot of ED nurses, there's a lot of nurses, a lot of people working at vax clinics go, this is really cool, unique, something different I can wear whilst at work to promote it. So it's been great for that sort of thing as well. And if you have messaged us, we will get back to you as well. So we've got a few people on here as well, Jason, Damien, which is Damien, if you've inboxed us and we haven't seen it, we'll get to you. It's just a matter of just getting to it. Dave McDonald, good evening, Jim and Joel. How much for a Jim's Jab franchise? Right. It's the first time we've had that comment out of thousands of bloody comments.
The thing is, if you're giving the stuff away, there's not much money in it, David, unfortunately. So we like franchisees to make money in the gyms. It's one of our peculiarities. In fact, the first thing a person comes to me with a new idea for a business, I say, okay, how much money can a franchisee make? And if you can't make $60 an hour, well, then we're not going to take it. So I think giving stuff away for free is probably going to fall a bit below that $60 per hour boundary.
Well, you couldn't believe how well it did, because I remember we said to you, we did the first video which got around 50 items out of it, and then the second time we did it.
Yeah, but that's because you said this hashtag.
Yeah, well, I didn't use vaccination or COVID in the hashtag on the second one.
Which I didn't really understand. I don't use social media, so obviously like me, most people must be bit more ignorant about social media than you are. So,
but Damien, I got a response, but still waiting for another one. Yep, if you've got a response from us, we'll get to you. Everyone who's inboxed the page, if we haven't seen it or got back to you, we'll get your address and we'll put you on the list and we'll get you an item. We've literally got thousands. That's not an exaggeration. On the TikTok video alone, it had around 3,000 comments and 71,000 likes just on that.
That's right.
So it's just out of control. A few people here. Chima's got any Jim's vaccine. You can do your own. Are you one of the vaccine producers? That's something. I know you because you like your science and stuff. So
yeah, well, I've got a scientific research project going, which is looking at things like genetics and RNA and so forth, but more for epigenetics rather than genetics. But it's a great thing. I tell you what, if I had a whole lot of money, I'd love to put it into vaccines. There are a whole lot of diseases in the third world that just cause horrifying problems with research on vaccines. Could make so much difference.
Absolutely, and Sharon's tuning as well. G'day, Sharon. Here we go. So. Dean's got any hi Jen. So I'm wondering, do you offer finance packages to buy a franchise from Dean online?
Yeah, sure. We can find finance for pretty well anybody, because basically a franchise is a pretty solid investment. The vast majority of franchisees make money and pay their loans back. So yeah, we can do it.
And we got one here from.
Well, basically, you just need a few $1,000s. Like if you've got $5,000, we can get you a franchise.
And then Damien's got any. How much is the jacket Jim has on? It's actually a bit pricey though. It's like $130.
$130. Yeah. This is quite expensive, this one. But it's a good jacket actually. It was raining today and I was walking around and it was quite warm and dry.
Then Chantel's gone here, best shirt idea ever. Absolutely. Then Nathan's gone, thanks for the shirt, Jim. So he must have already got yours. So thanks for doing it.
Put it on social media. Spread the word.
Yeah. You put it on social media and just get more inboxes for us asking for free shirts. But please do it. Please share it using Jim's group.
I've got nothing to do with his time all day, so I just got to keep busy doing something.
I've been that stressed. I came in on Saturday to even do it, and I'm not even made a dent yet. So if you have message, we'll get back to you. Then Chantel's gone, Jim is amazing. Then Charlie's gone, will everyone get a hat or shirt that posted? We're going to try to. Jim's approved. He's a good man. He's approved a lot more than the initial.
We've got 1,000 coming in next week.
Yes.
Probably on Monday, Tuesday.
And another 1,000.
Another 1,000 after that coming through. So we've got a couple of 1,000 shirts and hats due to come. So we're certainly going to supply as many as possible.
And Chantel, if you've given us your address, definitely we will get back to you as well. Okay, cool. We've got a few comments and questions coming, which is fantastic. Right, I want to get to one. So we do have an Ask Jim question box on our website, and I did have one that came via, which I think you'll like. Okay, so this is from Manuel Fernandez. So thanks for leaving this, Manuel. He's gone, Jim, I've always been a fan, mate, and honestly thought you were for the people. Aren't you a Christian man? Christian men that follow God and his word would have enough wisdom to know these injections are lethal and not needed. They haven't had the long-term testing and the virus has a 99.9% recovery rate. Has the government paid you to say this, or do you honestly think these jabs are needed and safe? You've lost many fans today. I'd say that's in the contrary because that was in response to the video that we posted that went viral, but other than that...
Yeah, okay, 99.9%. You want to do some research, seriously. The actual death rate from is around about 1%, and that's if you get good medical treatment. The other problem you get too is you've got this thing called long COVID. On the other hand, they've done 4 billion injections, and we know that the fatality rate is less than 1 in a million, way under less than 1 in a million. So you do the odds. The chance of actually dying from AstraZeneca, which is the most dangerous one, is about the same as dying in a car crash in the next week. It's one of the most tested medical procedures in the world. And as to being Christian, I think that's fairly silly, okay? Being Christian has nothing to do with your views on science and on evidence.
That's clear. We've done a debate on that one before. You want to check that up?
I would love to go. I'm very happy to go online and do a full-scale debate with any anti-vaxxers, and we'll
I don't put that out there, Tom. I'm going to get an email of the blue fair dinkum. We can definitely do it in some sort of way.
I'm very happy to debate it. There's a wonderful book called Vaxxers, which is about the development of the AstraZeneca vaccine by these wonderful ladies at Oxford University. And this is one of the ones, Katie, who got a standing ovation at Wimbledon when she appeared.
Oh, okay,
which
cool.
is wonderful. Not often scientists get that sort of applause. I think it's fantastic what they've done. You know, they had a vaccine worked out in 6 weeks after getting the genetic code. It's an extraordinary achievement. These amazing things, these vaccines.
But something a bit weird, like a couple of comments we saw is like, you know, this virtual signalling. Everyone likes to throw in virtual signalling. I hate companies virtual signalling. I hate companies. You know, it's just such a. It's like if you're on that position, you just got to go around. It's almost. I think they're like Jehovah's Witnesses, go and knock door to door, yelling in your face and preaching this thing to you. Like
COVID is a horrible, horrible disease. There are 7 billion people in the world. The way things are going, virtually everybody without a vaccine would get COVID. So you would have a death rate, if you work it out, 7 billion people. Take out 1% of that, which is 7,000 million. 70 million people would die of COVID without vaccination. 70 million. That's about the same number that died in the First and Second World Wars. And this is something that we're supposed to encourage.
That's it, but thanks for that one. That was a good question.
Yes, we're happy to hear from any anti-vaxxers, and we'd love to shoot you down too.
Yeah, don't debate me.
I am throwing down the gauntlet. There you are.
Don't debate with debate. Yeah, give it a go. Taylor for Roof's gone here. I love you, Jim. That's nice from Talitha. I think Jim's married though, so it's probably full and deaf here. Then Shami's gone here. Hi, Jim. Can franchisees sell a share of business without notifying the franchisor, or sell a share under the company name that registered for tax purposes? Very targeted question from Shamin.
No, well, you shouldn't. But I mean, the point of, I suppose, that we wouldn't know about it. If it's in the name of the company, you could do it, and we wouldn't know. Legally speaking, if you transfer ownership, you should tell us. But the fact of the matter is, if you had a company and you wanted to sell a half share to a partner, we probably wouldn't worry too much.
I think Shamim's a franchisor in Tassie for car detailing. I've met him before. Nice man. So he's a franchisor, so he must have a franchisee doing it.
If we knew about it, then yes, we would consider it. But we wouldn't necessarily know, that's all.
And then we have one from Dave McDonald. Hopefully all the recent research into COVID vaccine will lead to more vaccines, maybe a vaccine for cancer. Well, yes. That's not a bad point. I think that's not something that comes up enough.
They've actually done that too. They're working on vaccines for cancer, because what they've got is like, the problem with cancer is that the body considers it part of itself, because it is yourself. It's just a mutated form of your own cells. So what they can do is they get a vaccine which actually works out the cancer and then clamps onto it and then says, cancer, 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 kill it. And that gets the natural body reaction to go and kill the mutated cells. So it's got incredible potential. I mean, we are working out ways to do better with cancer, but this technology that they're developing with RNA and and so forth is fantastic stuff. It could lead to really big breakthrough advances.
Well, I hope it does. Absolutely.
Cancer is a horrible.
I think everyone knows someone who's been. You know, I've been affected by. Grandma died from it, so everyone's got someone who's died. who knows someone from it.
It's a ghastly sort of thing, cancer.
Yeah.
It's not just the fact that you die, it's the fact that you can die so horribly, the pain and the disability and all the rest of it, and treatments and so forth. It's an awful, awful disease. I think anything biotechnology can do about that is fantastic.
It's a good comment, David, as though, like all the money punched into R&D for this sort of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Who knows what could happen. Nathan Spencer's gone, do gyms, jabs, stubby holders? Yeah, you can have a drink of the beer and you...
We're so running out of...
The merch is... If I do this thing again, we just hope it doesn't go viral. We're going to plan for it better because we had no idea it was going to go viral, and it's just...
I'm staggered by it. We never even thought there'd be a national news story on this.
No.
We'll give away a couple of hundred of these things, and I just couldn't believe it's taken off the way it has.
If you're new to Ask Jim, guys, make sure you share it and comment as well. We are getting to the questions left in the Jim's group feed. Ben will scan the other pages and put them in here as well. And we've got Kayla, here we go. Jim is a saint. That's nice. So we've got somebody who says you're not very Christian-like. Now someone's saying you're a saint. So it's both sides of the argument. And then Simon Lathan's gone, thinking of doing a Jim's dog wash in the Case area from Simon.
Yes.
Good choice. A lot of dogs.
Dog wash is doing really, really well. We're growing very fast. And the dog wash franchisees are pretty well all my direct franchisees now. We've got a lovely lady called Rachel looking after them. But so I'm in touch with them quite a lot. And the overwhelming majority do extremely well. They have to do a few freebies in the first few weeks, first few months to get up to their income level, but after that they're roaring away. Most of them are great to giving great service, and they just love it. They just love animals.
They're very happy people. They love working with 6 to 8 different dogs or more.
I suppose you can be a cleaner without loving cleaning, but you can't be a dog wash person without loving dogs.
That's true. And then we got Michael Kearns going, why is Jim's mowing so expensive, even for a small yard? From Michael. He must have got a quote.
Because, Michael, our first priority is franchisees. And we have an enormous demand for our services. So what we do is we encourage our franchisees to charge more than the opposition. I want my franchisees to make a minimum of $60 an hour. Because frankly, 1 in 3 leads is unserviced this year so far. And it's going to get worse come spring.
Oh, yeah.
So we really seriously need more franchisees. And the best way to get franchisees and keep them is to make lots and lots and lots of money. I was talking with one guy just recently. His first 2 months, he turned over $70,000. It's fencing, not mowing, but because he had some teams on the road, and he said his biggest problem is he just can't hire people fast enough. There is so much money in this thing, but basically we push it very hard. Very occasionally, I might advise a new franchisee to moderate their pricing if they're losing too many jobs. But in general, I would spend far, far, far more time saying, why don't you put your prices up? You're not taking any more work. Add an extra 10%, add 20% onto your quotes. Go to your regular clients and raise them. We want our franchisees to make the most money they possibly can.
No, thanks for that one, Michael. Look, we have a price rating inbuilt for that sort of stuff, so if you respond to that with the survey...
I had a wonderful talk last night on the phone, which I gave you.
Shane Batako.
Yeah, Shane. I was speaking to him and asking about what happened, and he used to be with a manager with Aldi. So quite a good job.
It's a good paying job too, yeah.
Quite a good paying job. And he said one thing, but the thing that really changed him is his son, his I think 5-year-old son said to Daddy, why can't you have breakfast with us? Because he had to leave so early. Why can't you have breakfast? And he said he was crying all the way to work and he decided to give it up. And he said he's thanked his son so many times. Son's now 15 for saying that because he's actually got such a better lifestyle and he makes more money. What a great conversation.
Great to hear that. We have Ricky Newby's gone, would love one of those shirts in Excel, please. Well, the Jim's Jabs one, if you've done the Jim's Jabs thing, we'll get to you. We're going to have them for sale as well, but we're going to try and get through a lot of the ultimate. But we've got some.
We'll sell it. We'll give away as many as we can. We've got I have to say, thanks to Jim's uniforms, Jim's Signs and Uniforms, who've actually given us a really, really great deal.
Very sharp.
We're very grateful and very appreciative. Actually, we said to them, "Would you like to put your brand on the hat?" And they said, "We just increased the price too much." So they haven't done it, but they've done a fantastic job and a great contribution to the effort.
And then we've got one here is from Telford saying, we stand Jim and Joel, fantastic. And Clive's gone here, why don't the Jim's face mask on the online shop say Jim's face mask and have the man himself in the logo wearing a face mask? I reckon that'd be a great merch spin.
Probably would.
Probably would be, it's just time, Clive, it's a good idea. Then Simon Lathan's gone fully accredited, so Simon's already a fully accredited dog groomer, so you hit the ground running, it'll be plenty of work.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Yeah. It's not difficult to get into it, Simon. There's so much work. Obviously, you do need a trailer, which is quite expensive, but we actually throw it in as part of the deal, as a matter of fact. So when you buy the franchise And as I said, we can virtually anybody, as long as you've got a few $1,000s deposit, we can get you a loan to buy a franchise.
And then Shamin's gone here, thank you for your clear answer. So franchisor answering question here, fantastic. Then Deepar's gone here, good question here from Deepar's gone, question please, at Jim's building inspections, how much monthly money can we make if they're looking in the Jim's building inspections?
That I couldn't tell you.
I don't want to put it rough, but a lot of, they can do pretty well, the building inspections franchisees.
Yeah.
They charge a bit for the report, so depending on what it is. And
I know it's one of the better earning franchises. I know we did a survey of Mowing franchisees in one particular area, and I think the average turnover was $137,000 a year, which comes out to something like a basic six-figure income. But I know that there's certain divisions, building inspection is one of them, and another one would be antennas, skip bins. They're all known as very, very high earning franchises.
What's up there, Ben?
Is this followed up with how much investment we're looking into?
How much invest? I don't know what the franchise for JBI is.
No, I think you just had to put the inquiry through.
Yeah.
But like I said, the biggest thing with building inspection is you've got to have a background as a builder or something. It's not something most divisions we can teach from scratch, like mowing, cleaning, dog wash, antennas, pest control. The great majority we can tell you everything you need to know: trees, fencing, those. Something like building inspections, you do need to have experience. But that's the biggest obstacle. But look, any of these things are affordable. When you look at the actual return on investment, they're very, very high return on investment. You get your money back basically in very few months, 2 or 3 months typically.
But if you inquire, you'll get a list of the franchisees and call them and ask them, they'll tell you.
That is the thing to do with any business. And that applies to any gym's business, any gym's division, and any other kind of franchise. The best thing you can ever do is get on the phone and ring as many people as possible and just ask them, what's it like? Would you do it again? What's the support like? Is the money really there? That question. And you ask as many as you can.
Well, they're on the board, Jim's building inspections, so they're quite big. Only the ones with
they're one of our biggest. We're actually the biggest building inspections business in the country, which is a remarkable thing that Paul Comerford came to us. I think it was less than
Paul and Suzanne. They did a good job setting up.
Paul and Suzanne, yes. I think it was 10 years ago, less than 10 years ago.
2011.
2011,
pretty
that's
soon,
right,
yeah.
10 years ago. And they built the biggest building inspections business in the country, which is really, I mean, partly due to the brand and so forth, but everything else, they've done a fantastic job.
That's it. And then Paulie Clark's gone here. Hi, Jim and Joel. What keeps you awake at night, Jim? I'll tell you what keeps me awake is messages from people for merch. That's my one. That's what's keeping me awake at night. Not getting back to everyone.
I sleep pretty well normally, but my franchisee's being shut down out of work. The thing that upsets me the most. That lockdown last year in Victoria was really horrible. It's like a huge weight hanging over my head. We were financially speaking okay. We had a great year. In fact, we had a best year ever. But having my franchisees unable to work and knowing that the hurt that some of them went through. We had one poor girl who was threatened with eviction from her home. I said, if you get kicked out, come stay at the conference centre, no charge. But people were giving her meal vouchers and stuff to Menulog and things. Now, and I heard from her more recently, she's turning over $4,000 a week, so she's doing fantastically. But cheapest, that was a hard time.
It was really stressful for everyone there, wasn't it? Even Pete, have you got that?
I'm glad my dog wash people in Victoria are going back tomorrow, actually.
Oh, they really?
Yeah, that's right. Just heard today.
Right, that's good.
Which is great.
And then we've got one from Adam Bainbridge. So real quick, if you are watching this and want your question answered, put in the Jim's Group live feed. I can see it. So if you're on the other pages, Jim's Group page. Adam Bainbridge has gone here. Was there ever a time when you were worried about the future of Jim's Group or when the franchise didn't take off and perform well as you'd hoped at the start? From Adam.
I guess the strange thing about Jim's Group is it's done so much better than I thought. It's always exceeded my expectations. Like in the beginning, when somebody asked me when I first launched, which is something I often say, how many I might have, how many franchises I might have, I said if it really works well, one day I might have 100, as many as 100. So I had about 60 by the end of the first year, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. I just couldn't believe it. The only time that we had a bad period before COVID, where I was about 3 years when we were static. We were just below 4,000 franchises, and we hadn't grown. We hadn't gone backwards, but we hadn't grown. But since COVID had come, we've done really, really well. We've got, I don't even exactly know how many because there's so many suspended right now, but we've probably got about 4,400, 4,500 at present.
Definitely. Now, to answer that question, Adam, it's a good one. Then we have one from Dave McDonald says, even if you're not able to give one away, are we able to buy a Jim's Jab merch? I don't get my second jab for 4 weeks. Happy to pay when the time comes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they'll be available. We want to try and get the majority for free, but they will be available that time.
We'll do what we can. Jim's Uniform has done such a great deal. They might have to pay a bit more down the track a bit, but at the moment we're giving them everything away we can. We just think it's part of the effort. Because look, the thing about it is, I believe personally in vaccination. I think it's a fantastic technology. But the other thing is I'm so fed up with these lockdowns. And the only way to get out of them is to get 70 to 80% of the adult population vaccinated so we can all start going back to a normal life. I'm just so tired of it. I'm so sick of my franchisees not being able to work or I can't get supplies. Even on a personal level, I miss going to church. I miss being able to go to a restaurant. I'm so tired of it. It's been so long. So let's get vaccinated people. I don't care if people get annoyed at me. I'm going to push it and push it and push it.
Absolutely. And then Gippsland Pool Maintenance gone here. Gippsland Pool Maintenance will be up for sale May next year with all our customers. So we've got independent business promoting their business for sale on Ask Jim. We've become a business for sale page now. But that's the trouble with that is that it's actually so easy to get customers. It's good to have regular clients, but the fact of the matter is we are flooded with potential. Probably at least 90% of our franchisees were completely flat out year round. But it doesn't hurt to ask, so you put it out.
It doesn't hurt to ask, and good luck to you. I hope you get a good for it. It'd be easier to sell if it was a franchise, though, I can tell you.
And then Lucy Crisell's going here, I want the bearded Jim in the background, so I presume she's referring to this. There's two of these things here. We get asked that a bit, this one here. So
yeah, how much that one cost?
I don't know. This is probably like 20 years old, 15 years old, this thing. So I don't know how much this one cost. It would have been a lot of money.
I thought one of the things we should do is do a mini version of like a garden gnome, gym. Yeah, I think that'd be.
We got it costed for. It was quite a bit per unit.
Yeah, it wasn't.
We didn't know it was going to sell, so we don't want to order too many for.
Yeah, that's the trouble. That's like when we got the hats and the shirts done. You know, we didn't want to over order, so that's why we only got what
we got 100 of each.
100 of each at the beginning. We thought we don't know where these will go, and they're like that. Suddenly they all go. So yeah,
ridiculous. Then Jason Pollock's gone, I think the franchisor should be aware of new shareholders buying in and approve as the new person will be representing the brand that franchisors work hard to protect. Just a thought in relation to...
They should be, legally speaking, if you sell a share of your company and the company owns the franchise, you should tell us and pay a partial fee for the resale.
Then Jason Pollock suggests the Jim's Uniform can do merch lines. Interesting. Yeah, they could. If you hit them up, no problem, Jason. Then here we go, one from Matthew Dwyer. Hi, Jim and Joel. Sorry I posted this on the Mowing page, no problem at all. Is there any update on leads being able to be paged to multiple mobiles? When I emailed, I was told it would take a few weeks to bring in. It's been a month now, but haven't had a chance to follow up.
I don't think a few weeks is optimistic. You should see the list of stuff that we've got. And not one of that, everything time you get that much done, this much gets added to it. There's a massive, massive list of things to be done with FMS. There are so many demands. We've got 4,000 plus franchisees telling us they want things. And franchisors, there's just so much that we need to do. So I can't promise you anytime soon. It's a good idea. We'll get it done one day. When, I don't know.
Well, thanks for that question, Matt. If you are on the other pages, guys, leave them in the Jim's Group page, the comment.
By the way, we're spending over $5 million a year on software development right now. So it's not that we're not putting the effort in. We've got 50 people on the software development team. 50. It's
a lot.
We've just taken on a new project manager today to help to spread the load of management because it's just getting so much.
And we've got another one here from Deepa's going, I'm about to start the course next week, Jim. So I think next week, that's cool. We are have training this week, so we've got big TVs in there, which Jim's ordered, and the boys did a good job setting them all up.
That's right.
It's huge. Yeah. 75 inches is actually really big, so you might see on the Instagram store we have the camera, but we have the two 75 inches beside it with Zoom windows.
Yeah, so naturally we can have. It's actually worked well last time when we had that. I did my question time on the Wednesday afternoon, which I'll do on this Wednesday afternoon at 4:30, and it was good to be able to see people. I really do that. Now we've got the two screens, so hopefully each person's big enough so that you can actually see them when you're talking to them, which makes it a lot better.
Well, we actually have to get another computer, I think, because you can only have you need a computer for each one to have them on the thing. Apparently, you can't split it across. So. The boys are trying to do that one. Then Ashley Moore's gone here. Where's one from Ashley Moore? He's gone, is the financials available to get a franchise started? Is the financials available to get a franchise started?
Well, when you say financials, financials are what you show. But what we can do is show you some representative figures. Look, one of the ways to look at it is there's a pay for work guarantee on every franchise. It could be anything from $1,000 to $2,000 per week. Usually it's about $1,200 to $1,500 per week. Now, if you're prepared to go and do free services, and that's the major if you're not prepared to, you may not earn that money. But if you are, we know you're going to be able to make at least that amount of money. So we can set up financials on that basis. Most, as I said, most lending institutions we're pretty good with. We have a very, very good track record. One of the things I often boast about is the fact that we're between 90 and 95% of service businesses fail in their first year. And this is official figures. You can look it up on websites and so forth if you like. Our failure rate is around about 11%. And when I include the failure rate, that includes people who've actually sold their business or kept their business going but gone independent, for example. So we've got a very high success rate. So it's not actually that difficult to borrow money for.
If you want to email questions, actually just put them in here and we'll get to them as well tonight. Dave McDonald says, Jim, I know your answer, but the doggies or the demons? Do you know what he's referring to with that one?
Something to do with the sporting club?
Yes, yep, you're onto it. What events coming up soon?
I have no idea.
AFL Grand Final, and it will be, for me, it's the dogs, so I live in Yarraville.
I have no interest in sporting contests. I like playing racquetball. When we get our new courts here, that'll be fantastic. But I'm sorry, I have no interest in that kind of stuff.
I think being a good Christian man, Jim won't like the demons, so he'll go for the dogs by proxy. By altitude, I'm going for the dogs. Yarraville. The demons are real toffees. So they're the Melbourne Cricket Club. They're very toffee. Drive the Land Rovers.
Are these cricket?
This is football, AFL.
Oh, it's football. Okay.
And they all have Land Rovers. They all eat cheese boards, wines, go up to Mount Hoffman for snow trips.
Aware.
The dogs are the real battling team. The Aussie battling team is the dogs. They're the real rough.
I remember going with one of my franchisors one time, and I said, "What's that thing?"
You went to the footy, did you?
No, I didn't go there. I was just driving somewhere, and I said, "What's that building over there?" Jim, that's the MCG. I had no idea what it was.
That's a true story.
It's a true story.
And wasn't there another one? I think Mike was telling me about the footy. When I think one year they sponsored the footy, and Jim's Mowing was on the other side of the Sharon, and then you held it or something. You said, "Who's Sharon? I want to be where Sharon is. I want to be where Sharon is." That's the maker of the ball. When Jim's Mowing sponsored the footy one year. Then we have one here from John McEnroe's going, "Hi Jim, how do mowing guys survive in winter?" From John McEnroe.
Actually, very busy because you've still got your regular clients, and they may stretch from 2 weeks to 3 or even 4. But then you've also got the extra jobs like pruning and so forth. The great majority of our franchisees are busy right in the middle of winter. In fact, we get to the stage where we've given back over $1 million to franchisees, particularly from the mowing and fencing divisions, because they're just so flat out year round. We can't spend their advertising money.
Well, Petrus has gone here, alternative services, i.e. gutter cleaning, landscaping, gardening, pruning, rubbish removal.
There is so much to be done. Again, what I would suggest if you're interested in the mowing business, what you do is get hold of a list, because any franchise system based on the franchise has got to give you a list of all the current franchises with their phone numbers. And what I would suggest you do is pick up the phone and ring them and say, okay, what happens in the middle of winter? Do you run short of work? You just see what they say. And I'm very confident of the answer you will get, which is busy, busy, busy. In fact, you actually often make more money in the winter than you do in the spring, because in the winter you can do all these high-paying extras like gutter clearing and pruning and so forth. In the spring, the grass just grows and grows, especially in southern states, and it's a lot of work. So a job that might take you 20 minutes in winter might take you half an hour in the spring. So you don't have a lot, and then everybody wants it done every fortnight. Actually, up Northern Territory, it's like every week, so it's...
Oh, yeah.
They reckon you mow the front lawn and the back lawn, and by the time you get to the front lawn again, it needs mowing again. It mows that fast there.
Tell you what, if you want to lose weight and take something drastic, go buy a franchise in Northern Territory mowing.
Yeah, we could do it more.
You'd sweat it out that much, you'd sweat your weight off that much.
They actually get soaked, they said, they're completely wet the whole day, especially in the summer, but cheapest, you can make money out there.
Get real fit real too, quick. Yeah. So there's a good diet plan for him.
I reckon a person who could make $250,000 a year mowing lawns in Northern Territory, it'd be a real tough job, but the cheapest you could.
Great lifestyle up there though, great lifestyle up in the northern, in Darwin. Nice place, warm water. Just don't get eaten by a croc. Be right. And we're waiting from David Morris. He's gone, Jim, have you heard about the Fitzroy primary outbreak? What do you think about the school's response that mental health of students is more important than the health restrictions?
I think you've got to balance the two. And that's one of the questions. It's this whole idea that one death is too many. But there's lots of costs in lockdowns, and they've always got to be balanced. I've never been in favour of let her all rip. Everybody just go out and act normally like in Sweden or somewhere like that. And I think on the whole, lockdowns is a general principle a good idea. What you've got to do is to just carefully balance and understand that when you lock people down, you have problems. And there's a lot of the calls to mental health hotlines have gone absolutely crazy lately. I know that. They say that suicides haven't gone up. I find that hard to believe. I know 2 of my franchisees have had suicide attempts within their own family. And I know the kind of distress it's caused people. So all I can say is governments should weigh things in the balance and just not simply say, no deaths from COVID is the absolute priority. It's not. Other things matter too. Mental health does matter.
I think a key to school is not only the socialisation. If you live in a dangerous environment at home, school's a relief. So you go to school and you can relax for 6 to 7 hours. You don't have to stress about all the issues at home. Whereas you've been at home, let's say if you've got a mentally unstable parent, or you've got a drunk dad, or you've got a violent father or something, you're locked in there now full time with them. That's very stressful. The
damage to kids actually over COVID has been horrific. And the problem is too, it probably doesn't apply so much to families like mine, which is pretty educated. We're with Aaron and Esther all the time, and they're still working remotely and they've got good connections and stuff. It hasn't affected them very much. But a lot of kids don't have that kind of family background, and school is where they really move ahead. Losing so much school over these past 2 years, I think it's caused a lot of damage.
But also safety. Teachers can check on if they've got bruises or something, or they've got a mentally ill parent at home, which I did. I would have went nuts at this thing. And that you had to get out of the home. You can't just ring a hotline; it doesn't do anything. You have to get out of home. Talking to someone doesn't help.
I think we could do a lot better with lockdowns. I think they should be evidence-based, and I think some of the things that were done were really stupid.
Have you seen what they did? They recently had kids riding at a bike park, and they put those big concrete barricades on the thing, stopping the kids riding their bikes. Like, that's just, for me, fair dinkum. What's going on?
Shutting down parks and stuff. I find a lot of the stuff in playgrounds. I find a lot of this stuff very unreasonable. We're all in favour of most of us are in favour of certain kinds of restrictions. Yes, not having mass gatherings or people going to restaurants in the middle of an epidemic, those kind of things, or even church, which I really miss. I can accept that, but some of the things they've done are just crazy, particularly when you're involving outside. Because one of the things they've discovered about COVID is that it's spread to a large extent indoors, and it tends to be from, tiny droplets, not making surfaces, it's mainly just through the air. So if you're not inside, the danger is much, much, much less.
It's an interesting one. Like the Fitzroy one, most people who live in Fitzroy are pretty affluent, but there is a commission tower there, right? So if you're living in that commission tower with a single parent or whatever, that's a very tough environment to grow up in. So they might have to go to the school. Whereas if you're in a $3 million house in Fitzroy, me personally, I don't have overly much empathy for you. But if you're a disadvantaged youth...
Your house isn't so bad.
Sorry?
Your house isn't so bad.
I live in an apartment. I live in a shoebox.
It's a nice place.
I grew up in a commission flat.
We were there the other day. We were.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was across the road in the little shoebox.
It's a nice area.
It's a nice area, yeah.
There's a lot of trees and stuff.
But I grew up in a commission flat, Jim, so that's very, very passionate.
I do think some people are very unfair. You get a lot of people who live in really nice houses with nice gardens, and they're working remotely and their income is unaffected, and they think, restrictions are fine, lockdown's fine, we don't mind too much. But you talked about somebody like a working family in a very small flat, can't get out, kids can't go to school. People are suffering a lot from those kind of things, and we have to balance that against the mortality.
And you're putting the kids at more risk, because who knows what the parents
going to do. Particularly because kids have very little risk of this thing anyway.
That's
it's extremely rare for children to die from COVID.
I don't like how it's been politicised, though, because Liberal government and both governments have not done enough for mental health over the years. And Dave McDonald says here, same way, and tennis survive when it's 45 degrees, we go fishing. Ashley Moore says, I meant, is there financials available? My apologies for not wording it right. Is there financials made available from Ashley Moore?
I don't know what that means, actually.
So, like, some franchisors have like an example of financials for some.
Well, we can do that for you. What we can do is base it on your pay for work guarantee. So we can say, these are the costs. This is what your franchise fees are going to cost you, roughly speaking. This is what income you get if you get pay for work guarantee. But that's a very low level, because pay for work guarantee is almost always well below what you're likely to make. Like, we'll have a pay for work guarantee of $1,200. The average franchisee is making double that. But so it depends on what you're basing it on. What we can't do is tell you exactly what you're going to earn, because that depends so much on you.
Yeah.
How many hours you want to work, how good you are at what you work, how you price your jobs, your basic business skills. It can make an enormous difference. There are people out there in any division who are making $1,200 a week, making maybe part-time, and there's people who are making $12,000 a week. You don't know exactly how each person's going to go, and anybody who'll give you a precise figure and say you will earn this is trying to pull wool over your eyes. It's not possible to say that.
And then Matthew Dwyer's going, thanks, Jim. I definitely think it should be near the top of the top, and franchisees with 2 or 3 employees can be double and triple checking customer has been called, thus avoiding complaints. Win-win. So he's saying his issue should be the top one. We know, I'm not being rude about that. There's a lot of people who want their
But that's what everybody says.
Yeah.
I get the same internally too. There's every department that says, mine is top priority, everything else is secondary, right? But they all say the same thing. It's a bit like with government, and I can understand it. The government always does the wrong thing. Because what everybody wants the government to do is spend more here, and more here, and more here, and more here, and pay less taxes. Come on, it's simple, guys. The trouble is, there's only a certain amount of resources to go around, and you've got to balance priorities.
Look, if you think you've got 2 or 3 people working for you, Matt, that's awesome. I think Matt came back after like 10 years, so it's good to hear you've got 2 or 3 people working for you.
Yeah, terrific. And we want to encourage that too, because it's very embarrassing to have 1 in 3 jobs unserviced. It
Absolutely.
really is. So it's great when somebody gets out there and put workers on. We're actually going to be running a, hopefully as soon as the lockdown's finished, perhaps early next year, we want to run a training course over the weekend. It's going to be completely free, but the only thing is you have to be clearing at least $250,000 a year.
Yeah,
so
it's a very big tree.
Which is not that hard to find. There's a lot of people in gyms who are doing a lot better than that. So we're going to come in, we're going to put free accommodation, meals, everything. Come, learn from each other, and you can share and network. And then we're going to video it and give the information to other people, because a lot of people want to build these major businesses, and we'll show you how.
Yeah, absolutely. We want you to share their story, because stories have probably tend to be the best thing rather than a lecture.
There's this lady, Catherine Mullenshaw, who did the Jim's book. And she's actually started work on what we're going to call something like Aussie millionaires, and interviewing some of these people who've done so well. People who started out with nothing, pushing around, cleaning toilets and so forth, and are now making $1 million a year. This kind of stuff too. There's a lot of them around.
That's it. If you are watching the feed, guys, make sure you leave a question or comment here for Jim. We're getting to all of them. I've seen some questions in here which we're going to get to, and also share the feed as well. Helps us out. Jim's main Bay of Plenty Hawks goes, are you using the Jim's Job app? You can have this on multiple devices. So if the Jim's Jobs apps, that would sort it out, wouldn't you, if you had 3 different people, or would you all have to have the same login? Or
I don't know how that works.
I don't know. Let us know there, Jim's Mowing, Bay of Plenty Hawks.
Jim's Jobs is focusing on the typical franchise user in gyms,
which is a sole trader.
Which is a sole trader or somebody with a single offsider. Having multiple vehicles and so forth, we'll work to it. Probably early next year we'll get to that kind of stuff.
Then we have one from Steve Moran's going to Jim, why do you reckon people trust unproven ivermectin and are sus about proven vaccines, Pfizer/AZ? From Steve, we've got a vaccine advice show at the moment. We're not doctors.
Interesting, isn't it? I think you always got to look at the source of the advice. Internet memes fly around the place, and they can sound very scary and so forth, and you get all kinds of information. I mean, we hear some weird stuff, people who are completely wrong. 2 people have died in Bendigo from vaccines in the past month or something like that, and it's just complete rubbish. It's not true. So the only thing I can say is get the best advice possible, the best medical advice, the best scientific advice, and look at that, and be careful where you get your information from. Somebody posting you something on social media or emailing it to you is not the best way to learn about these things.
But there's actually doctors in Australia prescribing that, though, and they're flat out at clinics. There's one in Sunshine, for example. Every 10 minutes they're just prescribing these things.
Because there's some doctors. It's just like OxyContin, the painkiller, which has caused huge numbers of people dying from addiction.
They call it hillbilly heroin, the old OxyContin.
Yeah, that's right. And that was doctors were prescribing that en masse. In fact, they've done a lawsuit against the Sackler family, which has just been settled, and basically it's wiped out the company, and they're kicking $4.5 billion. But that's what they were doing. They were just giving these. There's a wonderful book called The Empire of Pain about what they did and how they did it. And they had these super prescribers who would just have lines of people coming to the office, and basically it was just cheap heroin. Yeah, that's what they were doing. And yet people, when there's a demand for it, then somebody will supply it. They actually struck off a lot of these doctors, but still the amount of damage they did was horrifying.
Then we have Ashley Moore's going, one other question I have, if I may. Do you have many franchisees in country towns?
Yeah, lots.
Absolutely.
We do very well. We've got quite a few in Warrnambool, Albury, Wodonga.
Good old Warrnambool. Good to see you mention them first.
Yeah, Warrnambool. I like Warrnambool. My son went to law school there. It's great. I've been there to give a talk one time too. So it's a nice town. All through the country towns we do very, very well. It's a great thing to do, because not everyone wants to live in the big cities. If you want to move out to somewhere in a better environment in a country town, which has got relatively low cost of living and its low levels of crime.
Nicer people too.
Nicer people, yeah, I reckon so. Probably. Us city slickers are pretty slimy lot. We're not nice at all. and a bit stronger sense of community. Now, if you want to go there, what are you going to do? Well, you can actually have a business like mowing or cleaning or pest control or test and tag or all these kinds of things where you can actually make a good living there. And actually, you probably, even though you might not make quite as much money as in the city, because the cost of living is so much lower, especially housing, you actually end up with more money in your pocket and a better lifestyle. So, yeah.
Let us know what you're looking into as well.
We actually have surplus jobs. I was looking at Skipping's division, which is a very lucrative division.
The country's a heap.
And you know that the worst area in Australia for unserviced leads is Albury-Wodonga. They had a huge amount of unserviced leads. We would love somebody else to go in there.
The one from Dwayne's gone here. There have been fee changes coming into effect at the end of the year. Some went up and some went down. Can you explain the rationale behind that?
Franchise fees are going up with inflation. That's all I can say. It's not a big increase. It's about 2% or something like that. And we've deferred it 2 months. They usually should go up first in October, but we're going to defer it till December so that people won't actually get billed till January because have been problems with income.
But put some more detail if you want something more specific on that one. No problem.
If your fees are going down, I'd like to know why, because I haven't authorised it.
But put some more. If you want a specific question for that one, just put it in there and ask Jim. Michael Godfrey's gone here. What movies, TVs, books have you been into recently, Jimbo? Thanks for asking that.
Lots and lots. Books mainly, actually. I mean, it's a nice series around, but I just finished one called Invention. Did I mention that last time?
No, you mentioned this one.
James Dyson.
Oh yeah, the Dyson vacuum guy. I heard about that.
Oh yeah. It's a fantastic book. I love it. I was so inspired actually that I just don't tell my wife this, but I got her a surprise. I've just ordered online today a Dyson hairdryer because he talks about the technology and how they did it and how they examined the whole thing, tried to work out the best way to get the best effect with the minimum amount of power and the least damage to hair. The vacuum cleaners are fantastic. I can't get a Dyson vacuum cleaner because we've already got one. It's just different technology.
You're going to give it a go?
There's so little left there, it's almost a search and destroy.
I might blow it off.
I never needed to use the hairdryer. But my wife has a problem with it too because her hair's quite long. I like it to be long. It looks gorgeous. And she likes to exercise and then she's got to wash it. So drying it is a real problem for her because I would like her to keep fit. I'm really encouraging her to keep fit. And so hairdryers matter. But it's an amazing book, just the struggles that he had and the way this incredible technology, also constant improvement, looking at everything that's happening all the time. All the time thinking, how can I do it better? How can I get a better result with less power, less resources? They are fantastic machines, Dyson. It's a really inspiring book. And just talking about the power of invention. Constant improvement.
It took him years, didn't it? It took him like 1800. How many times?
No. The actual original Dyson vacuum cleaner, the Cyclone thing, more than 5,000 tries, 5,000 prototypes to get the one that he wanted.
Because what age did he find success? It wasn't
only about 40.
Yeah.
It was not. He had all kinds of problems. He was poor for many years. Had a big lawsuit against Amway. He ripped off his design. He had an incredible struggle. He said he was massively in debt, big mortgage, just everything on the line, and then he got this Dyson vacuum cleaner out, and then with time he started making himself. Now he's worth about £16 billion, which is he's got a pretty penny there.
He's got a fantastic headquarters in England. There's a video that's really awesome.
I so much admire. He's one of my absolute heroes, James Dyson. He really is. I've been reading about it for years actually. I had a book of his that was written many decades ago. But he's a great guy. One of the greatest human beings, I reckon.
Well, if you believe in something, just persevere like you did, didn't you? Get the result.
Look, it's the same thing we do in gyms. It's not a matter of in business. It's not about having some great idea. It's looking at what you do all the time and saying, how can I do it better? How can I do it better? How can I do it better? Every day, I ask myself the question. All of our software constantly being improved, upgraded. Listen to franchisees, listen to clients. What can we do to make this thing better? And you just constantly work on it. This is what James Dyson's done on a much bigger scale than me, obviously. It's called Invention. It's really, really inspiring book.
There you go. And then David Don says, but what if, here we go, so what if the customers get called twice or 3 times? I'd get very annoyed if I was a customer in relation to having the lead go to multiple phones. It's not a bad point. So if you had a lead go to 3 phones or 3...
Well, you better get yourself sorted out, because one thing that will happen if as an employer, if you actually make that happen, is you're going to get some pretty bad surveys and stuff. And people don't like bad surveys. Our survey system is very rigorous. I actually delete probably at least 15 bad surveys and complaints a day based on evidence that people have done the wrong thing. But it's a very, very big thing with us. And actually, franchises will almost do anything to get rid of a bad survey. They'll go back and do a freebie. They'll do it again. They'll give a discount. They'll do anything. Even sometimes just wipe out the bill. Don't pay me. Just so I just can get rid of this bad survey.
They're fanatical about it, absolutely.
So, and that's what's going to be the corrective, David. It's going to be the fact that if you do the things wrong, and what's happened lately is that as this system has taken hold, the levels of complaints have gone down and down and down. The actual ratings have risen dramatically with time. And I don't think it's any sort of coincidence this has happened. The actual level of leads has driven dramatically with time.
Well, I saw Dan Kaler got his 500 5-star survey the other day.
Yeah, 500
for him. I've seen people with 700, 4.9 star rating with some dog wash. I think Meg. There's a few others.
There's quite a few. Actually, when I talk to my 10-year veterans and 15-year veterans, most of them have got exceptionally great star ratings. 4.9, 5 is pretty common.
Absolutely.
We didn't even know what 5.0 was. We hadn't had anybody, but lately it's become more and more common.
Damien Don says he's in a small town with 15,000 doing antennas and security, so that's right up in Horsham there.
And doing very well.
He does. Then Petrus has gone here. The Jim's Jobs app also has a delay when a lead gets texted before it appears in the Jobs app, so I definitely see this being a danger. That might be in regards to Matthew Dwyer with the 3 leads thing as well. So he's saying that.
But look, we're looking at feedback, and one of the great advantages we've got in developing this app is we are very close to our franchisees. Franchisees contact me, they contact IT. If you've got any kind of issues, let us know. This is a constant process. That's why we're spending millions of dollars a year on it, to make sure it's the absolute best imaginable program.
Then Tatika's gone here. Hi Jim and Joel. Is fencing going to be a good franchise business in the Wide Bay region, Queensland?
It'd be a good business anywhere. There's no such thing as a fencing franchisee who hasn't got more than enough work.
Especially in Queensland. We need fences, a lot more fences in Queensland.
Yeah, that's right. It's a problem there with the system of licensing is crazy. You have to actually do an elaborate thing. So what our guys actually, we take them over to New South Wales, get them licensed and send them back. Because it's not so it's easy to do.
I think it's not a good business, it's a great business. If you're keen to work hard at that one, you make good money.
I would say fencing. It's like this guy was telling you about $70,000 in his first 2 months turnover, which is the equivalent of nearly $500,000 in a year starting from scratch. Now that's turnover. You've got materials and he's got labour and stuff, but this guy's so much on the way.
And you're working for yourself and you're fit as well and you're doing doing a lot of good work. The money from Kieran Morgan's gone to your Jim. What industry has become stale and needs a shake-up? Example, Uber did to the taxi industry. I couldn't stand the taxi industry. I was glad Uber come along.
Yeah. Mind you, the biggest problem with the taxi industry wasn't the lack of enterprise, it was the fact of government regulations. Because what they actually said was that you have to have a taxi medallion.
Yeah.
So basically they said, I know how to improve the market. Let's reduce the competition and increase the cost. Let's have worse service at a higher cost, because then the people who want to drive taxis, they're not multi-millionaires, so they have to work for somebody else, so they get a pittance for working. All the government had to do to improve the taxi industry was to take away this ridiculous medallion system. It actually took a multi-billion-dollar company like Uber or Lyft to do it. Look, the thing is, there's so many industries that are right to be taken up. We've just launched Jim's Driving School. In fact, we just last week started advertising Jim's Driving School. We've already got quite a lot of really good responses. They can't actually do lessons right now because of the lockdown, but it'll next month or two it'll come out again. So that's a great one. We'd love to do. We want to get Jim's personal training going.
Yeah, I need that. Yeah.
Somebody had a go at that, but the wrong person, and we know we can make that work. I think personal training is great because I'm such a believer in fitness. There are so many businesses that are just ripe for disruption.
Absolutely. And then we got one here from Colin Harper, says, is a generic business plan available for franchises? Colin, I think Colin's been watching for a while, Colin. We've seen him sign books. I haven't seen you at training, Colin. Please just come to training. Please. Business plan.
Colin, we can show you what to do, but nobody can tell you what you're going to make. All you can do and what you should do is talk to as many franchisees as possible and ask them.
I think you're in Tamworth, Colin, or Orange. That's how good of a memory I've got. I know all the inquiries.
Bring up the people locally and just ask them how they're going. What are they doing? You can't know. It's not like a job. If you go to work for a job, you know you'll get so much per fortnight unless you get fired. Okay, that's pretty clear. Business isn't like that. You can actually earn more money, considerably more money, but it's up to you. your income week by week, month by month. It depends on what you make of it. All we can do is show you what existing people are making, and then you go make your own decision. Am I as good as these people?
And I'd say do the training comps. We don't require you to sign before you do the training. So just give the training a crack, I reckon.
Come and learn from it. That's right. There's no obligation on you at all. And in fact, some people go right through the training. Not very many, and they don't sign, but you're welcome to. I've even had people who want to go and start a regional franchise system of their own, independent.
They nick all your stuff, yeah.
No, I say to them, come along. I say, just make an inquiry about a franchise. Come along and do all of our training. I'll show you the whole thing. Now, I'm not as stupid as I seem, because once they've actually seen what we do and how good it is and how much behind it, they tend to sort of, maybe I'll do it through gyms.
Just give the training a crack, I reckon, Colin. There's no obligation to sign, so please give it a go. The Mar Plino's gone here. Hi, Jim and Joel. Can a franchisee use a borrow or lease a work vehicle? Can gym stickers can be done? Can borrow or lease a work vehicle?
Well, you can lease it, of course.
You can definitely lease it.
Most franchisees do it, they lease it. Of course, then you put the stickers on. But leasing is like buying on hire purchase, really.
So the answer is yes, you can do that.
If you want to borrow one, if you want to borrow your dad's car, your dad's Mercedes, and
you're going to put gym stuff in
a sticker, and he might object if you give it back next week.
Sure, you want to make go of it.
So that's what you mean by borrow.
But the answer is less, absolutely less. We have leasing deals and all that sort of stuff, and supply deals for cars and things.
Your signs are so important. They are the best advertisement, and we have these great, with the wrapping systems they got now, you can wrap the entire vehicle, and it just looks absolutely magnificent, or like a van or a vehicle or whatever. So
let us know what division you're thinking of in the comments there. The Nathan Spencer's gone here. How about Jim's pub where we drink Jim Beam? I like that one, Nathan. That's a good comment.
Yes.
Jim doesn't drink. If you're wondering about that one, I think a lot of people get disappointed when they find out you don't drink alcohol. They get real disappointed. They think you're there drinking a VB or something like that.
Well, I suppose I have a man of the people kind of air, don't I? But I'm not really that way. I don't watch football and don't follow football.
Yeah, I think they imagine you wearing the bucket hat and a VB on the couch when you're watching the footy.
I guess I'm a disappointment. I'm sorry, guys. I like reading books about economics and history and stuff and business, and I'm a bit of a nerd. Not really a man of the people. That's why I'm no good at politics. I couldn't even pretend to have an interest in certain.
I was going to say, you'd have to pretend to like the footy and go to these things.
Yeah, it's like what they say. John Howard was the #1 fan, and he's always there and stuff. And people relate to him. Or Bob Hawke. I love Bob Hawke. He was a great guy.
The good old Seaman Bob Hawke with skull in the.
Yeah, I know. So you can recognise that. He's the kind of guy you'd like to have a drink with, but I'm not. You want to drink with me? I'm boring.
Game of chess, or maybe, or something like that.
Game of chess, maybe. Yeah.
Then Amy McAlpine's gone here. Why can't you have two franchises in one name, e.g., mowing and fencing? Why can't you have two franchises in one name, e.g., mowing and fencing?
Well, you can. You can have it. You can as many franchises as you like. You can have. And some people do. They actually have different franchises, but each one's a separate franchise. It's not. It's what you can do if you want to, though. If you had a mowing franchise, you can actually do fencing, and it's what we call cross-divisional work. So during the COVID, for example, when people couldn't do a lot of other jobs, a lot of them took up the surplus mowing work, and that kept them busy, like test and taxi, things like that. So what you can do is you can either have two businesses, you get one fencing, one mowing, or you have one mowing business and then you just do the fencing work, the surplus. And there's thousands of unserviced leads all over the place, so you could actually do quite a lot. The only thing you have to do is to show that you know how to build a fence and that you've got the proper insurance for it.
Yeah, the insurance is the big thing as well.
The fencing guys will always get priority, so you'll only get what they can't do.
But there's a lot of unserviced in fencing, so it's probably something where you would get a...
It's not really a big problem finding enough work. But the same thing applies to mowing leads too. There's so much unserviced mowing leads, and you'd be surprised, even in the middle of winter, there's unserviced work that we can't handle.
And thanks for that one, Amy. That's a good question. Then Dylan's going here. Hi from Jim's Mowing, Midland, WA. I think you're a first-time watcher, Dylan, so put in a question for Jim. I've got one here as well, which came via the question box last week, which is pretty good from an independent mower. From Michael Badger. He's gone... Can Jim start a petition against the COVID regulations stopping sole trader gardeners and alike working? Stopping sole traders that have zero contact with clients and working guards makes no sense at all. Furthermore, people need to clean and have a safe yard to play in practically into COVID. I have clients that have yards that have become too overrun to use, and this is set to increase 100-fold come spring in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I have one gentleman that's in tears as his prized lawns has gone to ruin. I would love to gain support and voicing our concerns for Michael.
Michael, you are right about what we want. It's just a case of how we achieve it. What I did last year was I wrote a number of 5 open letters to the Victorian Premier in my name, making the point very forcefully. I went on TV, especially Sky News, Channel 7. I spoke to News Corp. There are certain aspects, sections of the media, which are very sympathetic to your viewpoint and mine, of course. We made a very, very big stink about it. The result was that when we came to lockdown this year, in Victoria, the outside services like ours were specifically exempted, which I give credit to Dan Andrews' government for, but I do believe that the pressure we put on them had a considerable effect. So that is the way we do it. You actually get onto the media. Petitioning alone doesn't have an effect, but a media story, getting on TV, getting print media throughout the country does. The other thing we're doing now in Victoria is we're running a test case for one of our franchises called Steve Thompson. We're taking action against the Victorian government over last year's lockdown, claiming compensation under the 2008 Act, which was passed by the Victorian Parliament. And that's being fought through the courts, which we're funding. Actually, through my son's firm, he's helping with the case. And giving us a very good deal, I might say, too.
You would hope so.
Well, he is, actually. Yeah. I'm very pleased with it. They're not charging us an arm and a leg. And I know James is doing a lot of the work at a lower rate than normal. So that's actually going through the courts now. That puts a lot of pressure on the courts. What we're basically saying to one of the questions we're asking is, I've just seen this statement from this professor, this health expert, giving page after page, about 50 pages full of this stuff about why lockdowns are important and useful and everything else. But the one thing he doesn't cite in any time is why a person mowing lawns or building fences or cleaning pools or whatever outside without contact with the client, how they can possibly be damaged to health. So we're asking, where is the advice that caused you to do that? And also, why did the original guidelines for health and human services that came out, which allowed sole operators like ourselves from operating, why did the Premier overturn them 3 days later in his news conference? What information did he give? So we're going to hit that really hard.
And make that advice transparent.
That's right. Yeah. And we're going to do it through VCAT. If we fail, I think we've got a very good chance. They're taking it very seriously. They've got a lot of really big legal eagles on it. If we lose that, we'll appeal it to the Supreme Court. And we're going to take it really, really hard. And it's one test case, just for this one guy. But as soon as the precedent's set, everybody else can go in, like yourself. Now, what that does, I believe, is to set a precedent. We may consider seeing if we can do something like a legal challenge to other state governments. Because you are quite right. What outside operators do is zero risk to public health, in my view. It's less risky than staying at home, going for a walk, going to a bottle shop, buying fast food. Far less risky, being alone on site, no contact with a client. And we want to establish that, because I can tell you something, this won't be the last lockdown we ever have. There'll be more health scares in the future, there'll be more disease. I'm sorry to say that, but it'll happen again. Next time, I'd like to establish a precedent to say that certain things, the things we do, particularly outside workers, we are no danger to public health. I want to establish that so clearly that any future government's going to have to listen.
Now, why do you think the advice was not made transparent? Because let's say, for example, the advice everyone's been trying to seek that they're making decisions on, if you go, there it is, right, you can pick holes with it, but that's what we were acting on. I think people would be more inclined to accept that almost, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Well, I wrote 5 public letters, all open letters, all of which were very widely publicised across the country, asking the question, what was your advice? Where's your evidence? I've got nothing back, nothing at all. So we have got to put pressure on them. So look, I appreciate your support, Michael. It's not just for my own franchisees. Obviously, that's my primary loyalty, is and always has been my own people, but I'm also fighting for the rest of you as well.
Now, Dylan's gone here. If WA goes in lockdown, we cannot work. We are non-essential workers, and I feel sorry for WA people because he's trying to do the thing that's going to be unavoidable, I reckon, Mr. McGowan, for politics.
It's so stupid. Yeah. It really is senseless. I can understand crowded venues, restaurants, churches, those kind of places. Yes, absolutely. Football games, for sure. But a lone operator on a site by themselves, no contact with clients, it is really crazy. The damage that has been done for no reason at all. It's just this mind-blowing thing. They don't think about what they're doing. They don't have any sense about what's urgent. They don't listen to health advice. It just gets thrown out like that, and it's really bad.
Well, the problem
and the amount of suffering. I hear the stories. It's like, look, it's okay, you're sitting up there in your Premier in Springtree 11, and he's remote from it. He's got hordes of underlings between him and the real world, okay? I don't get that. Every franchisee in Jim's Group has my direct phone number and email address, and by cheapers they use it. If they've got a problem, they'll tell me. And they would ring me up and say, Jim, when's it going to end? When's it going to end? This is really hurting me. This is really hurting my family. What can I say? But I hear the pain.
The one thing I still don't get over, Jimmy, though, is how can they all take a pay rise during the whole thing, And how can you say we're all in some together when you're on a 400 grand, 200 grand, let's say, government official job?
The trouble is there's too many people who find it comfortable. They're sitting in their nice houses with their secure income, public service jobs, working from home in their pajamas. How nice is that? It's really not an issue for them. They don't understand how hard it is for so many people in the population. And the really weird thing about politics these days is that the actual governments like in New South Wales that are actually Liberal governments are a lot more sensitive to the interests of working people than Labor governments are these days.
Which is pretty crazy, isn't it?
It's the reverse. It used to be that the Labor Party was the one for the battlers. Now it's the Labor Party is the one for the educated elites. It's really turned on its head. Something happened in America with Trump. He was a horrible guy, but I mean, I appreciate his supporters and what their frustration. And the same thing with Boris Johnson in the UK. The whole political system is being turned around, with the Labor no longer being the battlers, now for the elites. And the only people left to try and work for the battlers is Liberal Party. And they also represent big business too. So it's you really haven't got many fights. But I'd love to, if I ever go into politics, I'd like to be a battlers party. I'd like to look at all the
Aussie Battler Party.
I'd like to look at all the different policies that could help ordinary people, and there's so many that would really, really be good. Actually, if anybody's interested in that, Jim's book, the one written by Catherine Lillenshot's got some of this stuff in it.
I think the next election's going to be the most minor parties ever voted in. I reckon most people are going to put Liberal and Labor down the bottom on all the things. And
sometimes I've thought about going for the Senate. I don't think I'd work.
I love you in the Senate. You might be fantastic.
I think being a crossbencher in the Senate, you could put a lot of politics and you could put a lot of pressure in. So, okay, if you want my support, then I would like a fair tax system.
We've got the brand Jim. The Jim's political party will get
like, for example, a system that says you have a carbon tax, but instead of taking the money into government revenue, you actually distribute it equally per capita amongst the whole population. Now that would actually be progressive because poorer people use less electricity and the millionaires with their private jets and stuff would pay more. That's what I would favour of. Or you have a tax system which says you actually tax the land value of every house that everybody owns. The land value of any property, but you give people an exemption so that half the population don't pay it. And that's including people who are renting houses, because then the landlord gets it and reduces the rent.
Have you seen this new land windfall tax they're trying to put on farmers? You seen that? That's crazy. That's the worst one going around.
I don't know.
You get a dairy farm with all this land and all of a sudden you get hit with this massive bill.
No, come on. No, I disagree with that. Because what actually happens is you get land which is worth very, very little and then it gets rezoned and suddenly a land that was worth $500,000 is now worth 10 million,
10 million,
okay,
yeah,
because it's rezoned for housing development. Now, what's going on in the background there? Is it some sort of under-the-counter money or whatever, or influence or whatever? I don't see why a person should get from a land worth $500,000 to one worth $5 million overnight when they haven't done anything except get some government regulation change. So I'm quite happy to have a windfall tax. I totally agree with that.
A lot of farmers would disagree.
Well, they obviously would because they don't have the opportunity to make a huge amount of money, but it's not earned money. You know, one of my franchisees goes out and works hard and builds fences and builds a great business or cleaning business or whatever. They work hard for their money. Why should a person earn millions of dollars just because regulations change? That's not fair. I'd rather put the burden on people who can afford to pay like that rather than ordinary people who can't.
Now, what's your party called? What would you call your party? Has to be, you have to use the brand. Has to be the Jim's political lobbying, Jim's whatever, has to be something like that.
I don't know. I think I upset so many people because they'd be against every elite to the left and the right.
That's all right, why not? We could definitely go. I reckon you could have a fair chance.
Too much money in politics too. There really is.
Well, that's why I reckon Clive Palmer's in there. They will spend $50 million on getting a seat because he can get some deals which make him $500 million with the mining stuff, right? Yeah. So it's just a ploy for him. Rob Howland's going to real quickly. Can the new Jim's Job app and site be accessible to Jim's Plus fellas? I'm willing to pay for full access, but at the moment the functions are limited.
Yeah, you can get it. If you're in Jim's Plus, we'll give you access to it.
So Rob Howland, the answer is yes. Rob Barnes going, hi guys, Rob from Jim's Mowing. Casey, I see that there is going to be a major upgrade to Jim's Jobs on the 28th of September. Is it possible to run webinars as tutorials to help us along? Well, I like that question.
Well, we could. Yeah, sure.
Michael needs to do that. The Michael would definitely do it. And we've got one from Damien, who's going to win the grand final in the AFL, be the Dogs. And then Rob Howland, Jim's Jobs. So we've got a few questions. Here's one here. It's nice, not a bad one as well. Julie Christina Enzor. Hi Jim, should there be a discount on franchise fees in this current climate to help franchises establish their business, and if individuals choose to step out of paid work due to personal circumstances, have an exception on some of their fees? Julie.
Well, the problem with that, Julie, is the fact that franchises aren't making less money. Unless you're actually locked down and you can't work, which is different because we don't charge you any fees at all and you can't get less than zero. And by the way, when our franchises are locked down, the franchisors still keep on providing support. They keep on ringing them. In fact, we're still paying the managers for our own regions all the time, even though we're not charging any fees at all. The thing is, once you come out of lockdown, you can work. Your income is going to be absolutely flat out. I actually get people ringing me up and emailing me quite regularly to say, things are so bad. There's no work around, or hardly any work around because of COVID and stuff, and therefore I should have reduced fees. And there's one thing they've got in common: none of them are asking for work. I look it up as territory. So I write back and say, look, the thing you've got to do is start asking for work. So the simple answer, Julie, is when you're suspended, there's no fees at all. If you can't work, legally speaking, you can't work, which is not that common these days. If you can work and you're completely flat out and you're working as busy as you want to, 6-7 days a week, 12 hours a day, with all the work you can possibly handle, why would I reduce your fees?
Thanks for that question or comment there.
Fair enough.
You can always use Jim. Now we'll leave it there, guys. So obviously remember, if you're on lockdown or need something to do for the kids, Monopoly, Jim's Monopoly, why not? You can grab them online. Jim's Jabs people will get to your messages. We're not ignoring you. If we haven't answered, it just means we haven't got to the time. There's literally thousands. And we're going to go for that.
Yeah, this slacker over here, it's all his fault. He wants to do things like luxurious things like sleep at night,
Oh, yes, exactly
Instead
right.
of working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week as I require for my staff. Isn't that right, Ben?
Ben, that's in the background. Happy birthday, Mum, as well. Mum turned 63 today. So she's in the nursing home, probably watching this, which is good. So 63 years young. All right, thanks for that, Jim. And enjoy your training if you're watching, and we'll see you guys next Ask Jim.
Okay.
Thanks.
Later.